have this discussion this evening. Thank you, sir. So without further ado, Ms. Kimberly Pugh will give our invocation.
Please bow your heads. Heavenly Father, we come to you today asking for your guidance, wisdom, and support as we begin this meeting, this forum. Help us to engage in meaningful discussion. Allow us to grow closer as a group and nurture the bonds of community. Fill us with your grace as we make decisions that might affect us and all those around us. And continue to remind us that all that we do here today, all that we accomplish, is for the pursuit of truth, for the greater glory of you, and for the service of humanity. We ask these things in your name. Amen. Amen.
Thank you, Ms. Pugh. Ms. Pugh is a member of the Delta Sigma Theta sorority here in Cobb County, so thank you so much for her excellent invocation. First, let's talk about the decorum for this evening. First, can everyone put their phones on silent so that we're not interrupted during this meaningful discussion? So please put your phones on silent. Thank you so much. Another rule, we want to make sure that we respect all of our candidates and all of the attendants in the audience today. Everybody has their own opinion, so let's respect each other. We have questions that have been placed on cards. So if you get a chance and you haven't gotten a chance to put up your question on the card, please by all means do that so that we can ask the candidates if anybody wants to have their question asked of the candidates. This is a 90-minute event, and we're going to try to run on time so we get everybody home and everybody can have dinner at home tonight. So let's be mindful of the time. The candidates will have 3 minutes to present an opening statement. When you have 30 seconds left, a yellow card by this lovely young lady will be shown to you, just to remind you have 30 seconds left. Candidates will also be allowed up to 1 minute to refute any opponent's answer to a question as deemed appropriate and as time permits. At the close of the forum, each candidate will be allowed 1 minute for final remarks. Candidates will be given a signal when the time has expired and will be strictly enforced by the timekeeper. All right, so I want to introduce all of our candidates that we have today. For our mayoral candidates, we have Ken Hines. For our city council candidate, we have of Ward 4, we have Corky Welch. And our city council candidate for Ward 5, Ms. Susan Wilkinson. Now, let me also say that each and every mayoral candidate and city council candidate was invited to come this evening, but for whatever reason, these are the 3 that showed up this evening. So please know that we invited everyone to this event. Thank you so much. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Candidates. We'll start with Ken Hines. You have 3 minutes to present an opening statement. Just telling us about your strengths, skills, and your unique qualifications that will make you the next mayor of Smyrna. Right here.
Good evening, everyone. First of all, thank you to the members of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, as well as Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority and Zeta Phi Beta Sorority, as well as the Democracy Center. Thank you all for being here. First of all, and taking time out of your evenings to listen to us. I think it'll be an interesting conversation. Again, my name is Ken Hines. I've been a 23-year resident of Smyrna, Georgia, originally from North Carolina, educated here at Morehouse College, where I studied computer science. I began my IT career with IBM, and I've been in that career now for 25 years. Some of the skills I've learned on the job that I think are germane to the role of mayor include things like project management, being able to take resources, people, dollars, manage to a timeline, stay within a budget. Those are things I do every day as part of my job. And one of the neat areas that we have here at the City of Smyrna. In addition to that, I know how to collaborate with people. And people are always going to have diverse opinions and thoughts and approaches on how to do things. One of my skills is being able to pull people together, listen to these varying opinions, and come together with a solution that meets 80%, if not 100% of the need. I'm very excited for this opportunity to run for mayor because we need a change in the direction of our city. Our city has such unlimited potential, but our leadership does not appear to have the priorities in order. Whereas we have homes that are being flooded because they have bad sewers, or homes that are being flooded because they have creeks that have not been maintained, streets that need repair, sidewalks that are missing so we can't take our kids out and enjoy our neighborhoods. These are all priorities for Smyrna, rather than a party, rather than spending money on projects that are bad deals for the city of Smyrna, like the brewery and the Parks and Church. So these are all things that have been overly concerning to me over these last 4 years, and we really need a change in that direction if we're going to realize our full potential as a city. And so with that, I hope during the conversations that we have here today that I will earn your vote as we approach November 7th and vote for a change in the city of Smyrna. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Ken Hines. Next, we'll hear from Ward 4, Mr. Corky Welch.
Thank you. You did all that without a note one, too. I'm gonna cheat. I know my name, though. My name is Corky Welch, and I am currently the Ward 4 representative on Smyrna City Council. I've also lived inside the city for about 23 years, but I've lived in just outside the city for a total of 40 years. My wife, Catherine, is here. She's a lifelong resident of Smyrna. We have 2 children, 1 daughter, 1 son. Both the kids went through King Springs, Griffin, and Campbell High School. 1 went to Georgia Tech and 1 went to Georgia, so we're divided. You know, that's the way it is. Fortunately, we're not big football fans, but professionally, for the last 42 years, I've worked for a consulting engineering firm, and originally that's the reason that I ran for city council. I felt like that my experience with the consulting firm, what I do is I work for other cities and counties around the state of Georgia, doing water, wastewater, parks. For the last 7 years, we've had an architectural group that's really over half the size of the firm. We represent about 600 employees, but for the last 7 years, we've had architecture and landscape architecture as part of that as well. Politically, again, my experience is with, 12 years on city council and 42 years as a representative of other clients and city councils around the state. I can't stand here and promise you that I'm going to make this decision or that decision on any issue, but I can promise you several things. One, if you call me, I'll answer the phone. Either I'll answer it or I'll get back with you. If you call the phone at City Hall, it rings to my cell phone directly. You leave me a message, I'll call you back. I'll listen and respect your opinions. I'm not going to shoot down anything. I may go into a dialogue that explains to you why, for one reason or another, this is not a practical side of it, whatever you're saying, because there's always something that the general public, we never seem to be able to get all of the word out. So, with that being said, I see my little yellow thing right here. The big thing, though, is I'm going to base every vote for the next 4 years, I hope, on the facts that are given to me and just in good conscience the way that I think whatever is best for the city of Smyrna and the citizens. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Corky Welch, Ward 4. Next, we'll hear from Ward 5, Ms. Susan Wilkinson.
To the candidates, they're saying the audio is a little bit muffled, so if you could just either speak up or use the microphone, either one. Yeah,
I'm
thank you.
definitely gonna use that.
Yeah.
Is it on? Is this on? No.
We have a technical difficulty. Here we go.
And it takes-
We have Miss Susan Wilkinson now.
So thank you to the moderators that are helping to organize this. Thank you so much. And thank you to all y'all that have come out here this evening. I appreciate your time. So it's been my honor and privilege to serve as the Ward 5 Council member since 2011. I'm an Atlanta native. I earned a Bachelor of Fine Arts from the University of Georgia, and that was in design and illustration, and I worked as an independent contractor for 15 years. I moved here to Smyrna in 1986 and worked as the independent contractor. As an independent design consultant, I worked extensively with developers, architects, and engineers. And also when I was in college, I worked for a tax assessor's office, and my responsibility was updating the maps based on new development. And that was during the 70s when the zoning laws first came into place. So I learned a lot then about zoning. And so I feel like with my background in design and illustration, and then also my interest in the zoning and development, that I'm uniquely qualified blending my skills with my current interest in zoning and development and strong city government. Let's see, the people of our diverse community are by far our most important asset, and I'm continually motivated by the wonderful people of Ward 5. I really enjoy being a public servant for the people in my community. I'm responsive to my constituents. I have personal contact with many of them on a regular basis, and I'm a good steward of their taxpayers' dollars. They trust me and to represent their best interest, and that's why I've been elected 3 times, and I'm proud to be a public servant for my constituents. Another thing I bring to the table is I have 12 years experience on the city council and the institutional knowledge that I've gained by serving. I'm again, I say I'm a careful steward of the taxpayers' resources, and I've sought to responsibly grow the amenities and services that increase our quality of life without imposing an undue tax burden or fee schedule on the city residents. In my 8 years, first 8 years, I was the chairperson of the Parks and Recreation Committee and of the council, and we worked to expand the network of parks and playgrounds and multi-use trails that citizens enjoy. And I've been proud to see them Parks and Rec master plan. Okay, I think I've got my 30 minutes. Okay. Also, I was going to say that I'm also active in the Georgia Municipal Association, and I was recently awarded the certificate of dedication for 276 credits in courses ranging from the municipal law and finance and economic development and transportation. Yes.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much to all of our candidates for introducing themselves. Now I have some questions that comes from the Cobb Democracy Center that we put together. We'll start with our mayor candidate and have each one of the candidates answer the question. And I'll pass them the microphone so that everyone can hear them. So question 1 to Ken Himes. Smyrna is a diverse municipality in the metro Atlanta area. According to recent census data, it is 47% Caucasian, 32% African American, and 14% Latino. The median household income is a little over $83,000 and a little less than 9% under the poverty level. Smyrna has a reputation of being a welcoming and family-friendly place to live and work. So I asked you, Mr. Himes, what have you done or how will you work to ensure that Smyrna is an inclusive city in which government decisions reflect its diversity?
Appreciate that question. I think, number one, we can all agree and celebrate the existing diversity we have here in Smyrna. If you ask many people, they will tell you that's one of the reasons they moved here. That was their decision. So what have I done to help improve that diversity? And what things would I propose to increase that diversity? Well, number one, I moved here 23 years ago. That was my first step. And I will never forget my realtor taking me around tours of various communities here in the Atlanta metro area. Went down to Campbellton Road, Southwest Atlanta, Alpharetta, Sandy Springs. Couldn't find anything in my price range. Went to Smyrna, never heard of Smyrna. Came out here and there was a horse farm. And eventually that's where I ended up building my house, and that's where I live today. What I've done since that time is to spread the word about Smyrna to my friends, my neighbors, my community, be they black, white, Asian, Latino, because I felt this was a wonderful place to put down roots, to grow a family, to grow a community. And so I continue to be an ambassador of sorts, if you will, about living and working and playing here in Smyrna. It's a great place. And I continue to do that in every organization, as well as on my job. I was surprised to find that I have 6 Smyrna neighbors that I actually work with. Who knew? But what can we do to continue that momentum? I think it starts with groups such as yourselves here today. I look across this room, look at how diverse it is. It's wonderful, it's a wonderful feeling. And I really believe that the best ideas and the best energy comes from the galvanization of ideas from my diverse community. That's where we do our best work, we get our best ideas. And so I want to continue to do that, not only as a mayor, but as a citizen. And I hope that you will join me in that effort. I believe that our best days are still ahead of us, and if we work together, we can realize that vision and that dream. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hines. Now, Mr. Welch, Mr. Corky Welch, I ask you, what have you done or how will you work to ensure that Smyrna is an inclusive city in which government decisions reflect its diversity?
Thank you. I agree with one thing Mr. Hines said. This group is about as diverse as anything that we have ever put together in the city of Smyrna, and I encourage that from this point forward. But I've lived in this area, as I mentioned a while ago, for about 40 years. Many of you probably don't know, though, in 1988, National Geographic described us as a redneck community of Smyrna. I hope that we've outgrown that stigmatism. And I firmly believe that we've shed the redneck, and that one day at a time. What I mean by this is there's a city council can enact ordinances all day long, but every one of us here is responsible for what we do on a day-to-day basis to make that issue go away. It's, you know, we have a non-discrimination ordinance that we voted on in August of 2021, I believe. And in full disclosure, I voted against that ordinance, and I'm gonna tell you why. I didn't support it because of a single clause that prevented me from supporting it. I believe that no person should be discriminated based on race, color, religion, national origin, sex, gender, or any of the other. But there was a term in that clause for gender identity. And that gender identity made it lawful for some man, I'm gonna pick on men for a minute here, to identify themselves as a woman and to go into a restroom where my wife and my daughter was. And that infringed upon my rights, and I did not believe that that was right. So I voted against the issue. But, you know, every one of us has a responsibility to each individual as far as discrimination goes. It's just we're in the age of 2023, and it's just not something that we should have in our day-to-day lives anymore. And you know, I think that's the most important thing that we need to remember. What can I do in the future to make that a part of this city? Is, you know, anything that comes up before the city council, you know, I vote on things based on my own ideas of them. We can either support them or deny them. And again, I'm going to vote on each issue by itself based on its own merit for what's good for the entire city as a whole.
And now, Ms. Susan Welch of Ward 7, I ask you, what have you done, or how will you work to ensure that Smyrna is an inclusive city in which government decisions reflect this entire diversity.
Thank you. I'm gonna have to correct you. I'm in Ward 5. Yeah, that's okay though.
Okay.
I just want everybody here to know that I'm running in Ward 5. And I'm Susan Wilkinson. But I also want to say that I have the honor to represent the most diverse ward in Smyrna, and I've always really taken that seriously and enjoyed that part of my role. It's been the inclusion, it's been part of my everyday efforts as the council representative in Ward 5. Ward 5 does have some underserved neighborhoods, and I've always tried to make sure that my constituents are well served by the city, whether that's through different programs. I've been involved in part of the Habitat for Humanity homes in Ward 5. I've been proud to see those being built in Ward 5. I've also been proud to see a Wounded Warrior home that was built in Ward 5. And I also was involved in bringing a company into partnership with the city of Smyrna called Rebuilding Together. They are an organization that uses volunteer help to help people, seniors, and the disabled, and those with needs to be able to stay in their house. They use volunteers to do that, like from companies like Lucky. So anyway, I've been proud to see that, and the city has worked out a partnership with Rebuilding Together, and now they have been helping numerous homes in Ward 5. So I'm really proud of that. Also, I was pleased to be part of the racial trust building program that the city did in partnership with the city of LaGrange. That all the council was actually involved in that, and I also think that inclusion comes through transparency. So I think that that's something I would like for us to work and improve our transparency. I think we try already, but I think we could also improve the communications in our city. Thank you.
Our next question for Mr. Corky Welch. We'll start with him first. According to the Small Business Association, in 2021, 1.1 million new small businesses opened. But during that same time period, over 800,000 small businesses closed. With small businesses being the backbone of our community, what initiatives have you implemented or plan to implement to support the growth and success of small businesses here in Smyrna?
Thank you. Over the years, the past 12 years, City Council has implemented several policies to support the small businesses in the city. One of the most simple issues that we've done has probably been to simplify the process of just simply obtaining a business license. I have a very tiny little business that I run, and so I have to obtain a business license every year. The first year I did it, I had to go down to the public or community development, fill out all the paperwork, bring in various different forms, bring a check, sign a check, go back and get something else that I forgot, and go back and bring the check back to them again. Now everything is online and it takes about 10 minutes. Other than that, we support various different businesses, especially in the downtown area, by allowing them to have various events that they have and supporting those events, closures of streets, not just in the downtown area, but pretty much, we won't close Concord Road, but if a business comes to us and wants us to support them with a street closure, we try to do that. We have the newsletter that I put out once a week, has the new businesses listed in it. It shows, where those businesses are and so forth. And that's the biggest thing that we can do. We, as a city council, can only invest our energy in doing so much for a private business, simply because we cannot contribute city funds to the private sector. But I think we've done a good job in trying to make it easier for businesses to move here by simplifying the permitting process, not just with licenses, but with application for permits as well.
Thanks so much. Susan Wilkinson of Ward 5. Make sure I get it right. What initiatives have you implemented or plan to implement to support the growth and success of small businesses here in Smyrna?
Well, when I first started here in Smyrna, I was a small business owner myself, so I understand the needs and pressures of small businesses. The part of the thing that I see that we've done, I agree with the things that Corky just said, but we also, I'm supportive of the Smyrna Business Association, which supports small businesses. And also, we recently had a reception where we recognized some of the small businesses in Smyrna. And so I think that's also important. And so that's what we do in our community. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Now, Mr. Himes, I will ask you the same thing, sir. What initiatives have you implemented or plan to implement to support the growth and success of small businesses here in Smyrna?
Thank you again. So, one of the things I've done is obviously support small businesses here in Smyrna. A lot of you that know me see me frequently downtown here in Smyrna, be it at the wine bar, the bourbon bar, Zucca, Tuckeria, Atlas Park. We can go on and on. We can do this all night. I also frequent businesses in the Belmont area as well as other parts of Smyrna. So that's what I do in my personal life. But as a mayor and a leader of this city, one of the things I would love for us to do that's been proven in other metropolitan areas is to establish a business incubator. That is the key to not only bring new businesses in and give them a foundation upon which they can grow, but if you have an existing business, I see many business owners here tonight, if you have an existing business, we can also bring to bear resources to help you grow your business. And so that's one of the key things that I think is a missed opportunity here that we can do to really grow a thriving, vibrant business community for small business owners. And I will be a leader to make sure that that happens. Thank you.
Now we start Ms. Wilkinson. With an increasingly integrated world economy, a leader has to be prepared to respond to higher levels of both risk and opportunity. A characteristic of a community leader is one that is able to make sound fiscal and ethical decisions. Please share with our local audience and those watching all around the world your relevant skills and experiences that represent fiscal and ethical responsibility.
Well, I have something written here, but I also want to say that I'm very fiscally responsible in my own life. I actually worked and paid my way through college, so I feel pretty proud about that. And as a city council member, we take an oath of office to be fiscally responsible and to manage the city's hard-earned tax dollars in a responsible way. And I take that very seriously. And I'm always cognizant of the wants versus the needs of the many citizens. We must make sure that we balance our needs and wants in the context of our budget. And also, it's always a priority of mine to maintain our AAA bond rating and also our reserve funds. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Now, Mr. Himes, please share with our local audience here your relevant skills and experiences that represent fiscal and ethical responsibility.
Certainly. So in my business life, as I mentioned earlier, I've been a product manager and a project manager for over 25 years. And as I mentioned earlier, that involves taking resources and managing to a specific budget. So I've managed projects of various sizes and durations. The longest project I managed was an 8-year project, and I brought that project in on budget. The largest fiscal budget I've managed is $55 million project budget. That included third parties as well as internal resources. And in all of those cases, I was able to manage on time and on budget management of those activities. So those are relevant skills that I can bring to this job as mayor of Smyrna. You know, it's one thing to talk about fiscal responsibility, but it's another to actually do it and deliver it. And my issue today is that we have several projects, if you look around, they all have two things in common. They're all over budget, and they're all past due. And they continue to be past due, and they continue to eat away at our reserves because we're throwing more and more money at them. And so as mayor, my commitment to you will be to manage to the budget, to the timeline, so that we make the most of your taxpayer dollars. Thank you.
Now, Mr. Welch, tell us about your relevant skills and experiences that represent fiscal and ethical responsibility.
Thank you. Mr. Hines brought up a very good point that, you know, we and Susan did too for that matter, we need to be very aware of our needs versus our wants. It's no secret on city council that I'm the person that's always asking the questions about money. And I'm always very concerned about it, especially with our current spending. We've got projects out there that we're working on from a SPLOST standpoint. Seems like every single one of them is over budget. And to some extent, that is due to COVID-19. And the SPLOST revenues have increased as well. So we're going to be able to cover that. But we received $8 million, I believe, in 2021 from the federal government due to COVID. We have less than $2 million remaining. Because we're building want projects and not need projects. In addition to that, we're $2 million behind on our street resurfacing on our budget. We've used that $8 million, $6 million of it, to pad our budget to make it look like we have a balanced budget, and we really don't. And something's got to change because we can't go into 2024 with that concept and be able to maintain the city's AAA bond rating. As Susan mentioned a few minutes ago, we've got to buckle down and take care of our budget and finances. As past president of a private business, you know, I understand budget. I'm also a project manager, just like Mr. Hyman. I manage projects from $2,000 to $40 million for cities and counties all over the state. And this is a very unusual time as far as project budgets go and so forth, but I've done this for 42 years. I can't sit here and tell you that every one of them's come in under budget because clients change budgets and things as we go through. So that just can't do that. But during that 42 years, it's taught me the meaning of fiscal responsibility, and that's the reason I ask as many questions as I do on city council. You know, we've got to buckle down and get our budget and our spending in line. In this room 2 weeks ago, we had a meeting to demonstrate, show the people, you know, a new park renovation at Jonquil Pool and over on Church Road of a tennis complex. Combined, those projects are somewhere between $30 and $40 million, and we can't afford to do that and maintain an 8.99 millage rate. And I'm not going to vote to increase a millage rate to the citizens that we've had for 25 years, somewhere thereabouts. Many, many, many years we've had 8.99, and I intend on keeping it. Ethically, I do my level best to run a clean campaign, be open and honest about my position on the issues, and provide my constituents with as much information as I can. I encourage anyone to call me and ask me questions. I have an answer for why I have voted the way I have on every issue over the last 12 years. One final comment regarding the ethical issue. I expect everyone on council to have that same position, and I'm not afraid to call them out.
Thank you, candidates. I appreciate that. Now, that will end the part of the questions that the candidates knew that we were going to ask them. Now I have the questions that the audience has written on the cards. So let's start with those, okay?
And 2 minutes.
Yes, you have 2 minutes to respond,
30-second warning, stop.
along with a 30-second warning. All right. So here's the first one. We're gonna start with the mayor candidate, Mr. Himes. What would you have done differently from the way Derek Norton handled the city center redo? Sorry, 2 minutes.
I don't know that we can cover the two. We'll do our best. First of all, let me just say, I have no personal problems with Mayor Norton. But I do have an issue with his ideas and his execution of those ideas. That's where my problem is. So let's take the downtown redevelopment as an example. I think there were, 3 or 4 sessions where the public was asked to come and comment on the designs. It was interesting to me that there was never an opportunity for the public to say, here's our idea of a design. No, it was, here's our design, what would you change about it? And it's a pattern if you notice that. The aquatic center, again, here's the aquatic center, not do you want an aquatic center? So you have to be careful about what question it is that's being asked of you. So from my perspective for the downtown redevelopment, I would have opened it up. We talk about transparency a lot on this panel. We have to be transparent about what the true end goal is. Is it to truly redevelop downtown and make it a more walkable, livable space? Or is it just an agenda item for my resume? Good, fair question, fair question. So I would have opened up that dialogue and discussion with the community, taken input for ideas, and then engage an engineering and design team to come up with some concepts. Several concepts, and then walk those back through each neighborhood, each meeting, making sure that we get your input and your reaction to those items. And from there, I think we could all settle and agree on an option and a design that works for, again, maybe not 100%, but maybe 70 or 80% of us. That's the way I would have changed the process. Thank you.
Mr. Welch, your same question to you too, sir.
Thank you. First of all, let me say, I did not vote to support this downtown. And I have 2 reasons. And I told you a while ago, I have reasons behind every vote that I have. The main reason, well, they're both about equal. One was, I think we changed the traffic pattern through this downtown area to a point that the people to the west of us out here have a much more difficult time moving to the east than they did before. Secondly, I think we could have taken the downtown roundabout, left the roundabout in place. We needed renovation to the downtown. It was 25 years old, but we could have spent about half the amount of money, still maintained the traffic pattern, and came up with a really good project that that would have accomplished the same things by giving us additional green space and something that we could have been very happy with and very proud of for about half the price of what we did. So that's my answer to that question.
Now, Ms. Wilkinson, what would you have done differently?
Well, first of all, I was not supportive of the project either, and I have some things written here, but the downtown and roundabout and fountain removal was based on a draft study that was never adopted by the council. The council saw the plan for the first time on June 3rd, and then it was voted on and approved on June 21st. We did have, I think there were 2 public meetings where I think the first meeting I went to, I learned about things I had not heard about at the public meeting. But that was within that 18 days when it was voted on. The cost at that time was $2.5 million for the roundabout and removal of the roundabout and fountain. There was an additional cost that was included in that for the parking deck at that time, and so that was why it was it was talked about as $6.5 million. But the basic roundabout and fountain removal was 2.5. So initially, I was opposed to it because we didn't see nor discuss any other options, and it was based on that a draft study that wasn't adopted. I felt like it was important for us to consider the growth and changes happening at the high school, just 1.5 miles west, as well as the impact to the neighborhoods to the west, which are the neighborhoods that I'm the representative of. At that time too, the high school was growing. It's the largest population of any high school in Cobb County, and they had just completed their gymnasium, which holds 3,000 people. And that is equivalent to like the Roxy Theater or the Cobb Energy Center. So that, has a lot of potential for a lot of traffic in that area. The other thing that the high school did was they built their performing arts off of Fleming, and that used to be an area where you could enter the school through that back area and that parking lot. But I also knew that their plan was to limit that as a drop-off area and bring that around to Powder Springs side. So that in addition, and I knew about that, and we talked, I mentioned it, but I just felt like that was so important. Oh, sorry.
All right, so now these questions, like I said, are coming from the audience. So this next one is specifically for Mr. Welch. What comments do you have knowing that your opponent has advocated on behalf of Sterigenics? And from this card it says, for the benefit of those who don't know, Sterigenics has been identified as an emitter of ethylene oxide, a chemical that is airborne and a known human carcinogen.
Thank you. It's no secret that my opponent is a lobbyist, essentially meaning he's a hired gun for whoever he works for. At the time, he was working for a company that represented Sterigenics. And with that being said, what the problem is with Sterigenics from my standpoint is, and I was speaking with a lady just a few minutes ago about the children that have become sick in the neighborhood and so forth. The problem is sometimes we don't know what we don't know. And what I don't know is how long this had been going on and to what extent it had been going on before we all became aware of the situation. And that's the problem. When it became public knowledge, of course, Sterigenics reacted, they shut down and stopped the problem. But how long before then had it been going on? As far as my opponent speaking against them again, at the time that was his job. I believe he was wrong to speak up, on their behalf because he didn't know either. But he is still a lobbyist, and we have two lobbyists. Well, our mayor's a lobbyist, and we have one other lobbyist on the city council. And I just don't think that we need another.
Sir, could I just clarify, because I was one of the people that lived near Sterigenics for 9 years. We actually moved because our property values dropped and several of the children in our neighborhood cancer. It was only shut down temporarily because of the lawsuit with the Cobb County Fire Department. It is still emitting. Today in the news, AJC, MBJ, they settled for $35 million for only 79 of the cases. They are still emitting tons of toxins. If you read the depositions, their roof was leaking constantly during 2018 and 2019. Birds were flying in, they had buckets of water. It is still not cleaned up. And so we moved to Smyrna to get away. We were in the red zone for 2 years. So it's still an ongoing problem.
Thank you.
And so I hope you'll all take it seriously. It's not over, it's still going on.
Thank you so much, ma'am. We appreciate your time. This next question is for Ms. Susan Wilkinson. Can you please tell the audience what happened to cause the plan the current mayor had to promote a huge video screen for outdoor activities, which called the largest gun seller in America to show movies? I'll read it to you again.
Adventure Outdoors.
I'm sorry? Okay, I'm gonna read it one more time. Can you please explain what happened to cause the plan the current manager had to promote a huge video screen for outdoor activities, which calls itself the largest gun seller in America to show movies? That's the question.
I am familiar with what they're talking about. It might not be clear. But for us, it came to me that there was an effort to change our sign ordinance, which right now it's 320 square feet for an LED sign. And there was an effort there to try to change the ordinance so that allowed for a 950 square foot LED sign, which is the size of a billboard, and it was gonna be in Ward 5. And it had gone to the city without me knowing it and worked out the ordinance before I heard about it. But, and it was specifically gonna be for a business in Ward 5, which I'm not opposed to the business, but I was opposed to the LED sign, and I know, so that, and then, I think that we all have had concerns about a sign, a billboard and an LED billboard that size. But the way it was also presented to us is it was also gonna be a movie theater. But when it was gonna be a movie, it would be like on weekends and they would have to screen it. But they weren't gonna have to screen it every other time, when they weren't having a movie. But I think that was just a way to try to get it into the community. But I guess as a representative of that area and the neighborhoods there, I really knew they wouldn't be supportive of that. So, anyway,
Did
thank
the
you.
project die?
It did. It got withdrawn.
May I add something?
Go right ahead,
Sure.
sir. 1 minute.
Thank you very much. This issue, I found out about this issue from Susan, and the mayor was promoting this in the council meeting. Susan pointed out to me that the mayor was a lobbyist for Adventure Outdoors. And I brought it up in the meeting that night, and it was pulled from the agenda, and we've never heard from it since.
You want to comment also, I see?
Just very briefly.
Go right ahead.
If you've been paying attention, and I hope you have, there is a pattern of unethical behavior at the top of City Hall.
Yes.
Please, please pay attention. And this is why I've encouraged everyone I know to attend these city council meetings, because it's amazing how much information you will find out. And the more information you find out, the more questions you will have. And the more questions you have, the more uncomfortable the mayor becomes. So please, get engaged, get involved, and hopefully in this election cycle, you will understand you have a clear choice between status quo and a change for the better. Thank you.
Now, here's a question for all the candidates. Do you have any major endorsements of your candidacy? And if you do, can you please tell us who they are? Towards you, Mr. Welch.
Can you make sure I understand the major endorsements for my candidacy?
Yes, sir.
This could be good or bad. Max Bacon. It was a pleasure to serve under Max for 8 of the 12 years that I've served, and Max does support me in this race.
So, repeat the question.
We want to know, do you have any major endorsements of your candidacy? And if you do, can you tell us who they are?
Well, I'm not really sure what major means, but I'm pretty sure I don't have any.
I'm sure your family is endorsing you.
Yes, and myself, I'm endorsing, from my own money, and I got a little bit of donation, and I'm proud of that, but it's not really very much. So there is an option when you run for office that you can sign an affidavit, and if you don't plan to raise or spend more than $2,500. And so I did sign that affidavit, and that's where I'm trying to keep it in that limit. For me, that's important. I've done it before, and last time I think I went a little bit over that, 2,700, but that's my goal. That's what, that's my goal, to keep it
Mr. Hines, do you have any major endorsements of your candidacy, sir?
The first two endorsements I got were from Jesse and Addie Hines. I'm very happy they have endorsed their only son. There was no pressure for that, of course. I am also happy to say that former Mayor Max Bacon has also endorsed my campaign. And I hope to have soon some endorsements from some previous candidates of past mayoral races. We are very actively looking to listen first to some of those concerns from those individuals so that we can have those reflected in the priorities for the city. I do have endorsements as well from members of the LGBTQ plus audience, community. And from individuals and organizations who support clean air, clean water, environmental protection. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention support from the community of the arts. That is another area that I think is underfunded. And as a community, Smyrna can certainly do better in that arena. Thank you.
Now, this question was first start off with Mr. Corky Welch here. The question is, are you a lobbyist? And if not, can you name the candidates running for office who are lobbyists? You want to decline that one right now?
I don't care, it doesn't really matter to me,
Just read the card.
I am a lobbyist. I work for an engineering company that when I ran for office, I pledged to not do any work for the city of Smyrna, and I have not for the past 12 years. We did a little bit of work before I ran for office, but we have done zero since then. As far as the candidates running for office that are lobbyists, our mayor, Michael Power, the opposition to me, and Travis Lindley, who has served for Ward 3. And I haven't seen any conflict from Travis in his term, but I don't know about the other two.
Now, here's a question for all three of the candidates. What is your specific vision for Smyrna as a community? We'll start with Ms. Wilkinson first.
Well, I guess I want to see Smyrna continue to be a safe and desirable place to live and raise a family. I think that's really the top goal. As far as a vision for more, I need a minute maybe to think about that, but that is my desire. Oh, I could talk about let's see. Well, I like the programs that have started here in Smyrna. I did talk about this in a couple of questionnaires before. I'd like to see the city do some kind of partnership where we can have some affordable housing for our first responders and teachers. I think that's the goal for my.
That's interesting that we're putting first responders alongside teachers. All of our first responders. Okay, so Mr. Hines, what's your specific vision for Smyrna as a community?
Thank you, sir. I have this idea about Smyrna as a truly diverse community, and we're working towards that now, where we have wonderful opportunities for everyone to take advantage of, no matter what line of work or walk of life you happen to be in. I see a city where we have planned projects that fit together into a strategic vision. We're not going to do one-off projects here and there and hope that they come together in some sensible fashion. No, we're going to plan. And by the way, that plan starts with input from you. We're going to listen to the citizens and put the citizens first in every decision that we make. I think that's the proper way to realize the full potential and vision for Smyrna. Smyrna should be a city that has a flourishing arts community, a community where every person is welcome and feels welcome, where we celebrate our first responders, our teachers, our caretakers, and not only show that when we see them on the street, but show it in their paycheck. How about that? So that's the vision I have for Smyrna. A thriving community where we do have, as was mentioned earlier, affordable housing. So if you're a young person just starting your professional career and moving to Smyrna, you can actually live here. You have a livable wage. If you're a senior citizen on fixed income and your landlord is trying to raise your rent, we want to have some programs in place to cover that, right? So all those things, if they come together, we're going to have a wonderful, vibrant community that you'll be proud to call home. And so will your children. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hines. Now, Mr. Welch, what's your specific vision for the city of Smyrna?
As I mentioned earlier, been in this area for 42 years, and what I always liked about Smyrna was the hometown feel of the community, just a sense of community that everyone could get involved in and have a part in doing something for the city. Much like Mr. Himes and Susan both, you know, I want to see us continue to grow, not necessarily in population, but as an inclusive and, you know, and community that you know, we all get along. And I think that's the most important thing, is that we do get along and that we have that sense of community, and hopefully we'll see that return, because I'm not really interested in bringing 30,000 people to downtown Smyrna for a concert. I want them to come and feel like that they're a part of this community, and that was not necessarily the feeling that I got. So that's my vision.
Now, this next question is for our two city council members, because apparently we have a lot of questions, a lot of people interested in the problem with the brewery issue, as they call it. So, for the two city council members, how do you vote on the brewery issue, and how did you vote on the brewery issue, and why? So we'll start with Mr. Welch. Is that okay with you, sir?
Sure. Much like the downtown renovation, I did not support the brewery for a couple of reasons. Again, the primary reason was I simply did not feel that we need a brewery next to our community center. This is the location that we bring our children to play basketball and for special events and so forth. And they are trying to pass this brewery off as a family-friendly location, and that doesn't make sense to me. I grew up in South Arkansas in an environment that was, my parents owned a little country store that sold alcohol, and it was not a family-friendly environment. But the brewery is not either, and it's in the wrong location. I did not disagree with bringing a brewery to Smyrna. I simply disagreed with bringing it to that location.
The other part of
The other issue there is the park that came along with the brewery. It started out at $600,000, and that's the amount of money that they gave us for the property. It went from $600,000 to $1 million. It went from $1 million to $1.5 million. So essentially, we gave the brewery a piece of property and $900,000 in improvements that we're doing to the property out there on their behalf. And I do not think that we should be spending taxpayer money on private business. Thank you.
So I was not supportive of the brewery, selling the property to the brewery either. I'm gonna read right here what I've said. I'm supportive of breweries in the city of Smyrna. I just didn't agree that the city should sell that land for that purpose and at that price. In my experience as chairperson of the Parks and Recreation Committee for 8 years, I believe the property was too valuable for the city for its future needs with its proximity to the community center. And that's the reason. And then I could go on about the 600 for the profit that we got for the land and then the 1.5 million. I don't agree with that either.
Now, I'm gonna have to ask the audience, no more questions. We got plenty of questions and not enough time, so we're gonna go another 10 minutes. So here is one we'll start off with Mr. Himes. What is your approach to ensuring that there is affordable housing for seniors and young families?
Thank you for the question. Yeah, this is a tough issue, but I've given it a bit of thought. And one of the things I think we should explore, at least explore, is to see what state and federal subsidies we can get to help subsidize the cost for housing, both in the low end as well as for our senior citizens. The reason I suggest that is because if you think about it, we don't have any control over the landlord and what rents they want to charge. That's point number one. But point number two is your income, your salary has not kept up with the rate of inflation over these last 5 to 6 years. Those are two undeniable facts. So then what can we do? We can seek out state and federal subsidies that help bring that cost down for the occupant. We're not saying to the landowner, you can't make a profit, you can't make any money here. But what we are saying is the cost that you pass along to that occupant needs to be a reasonable cost. So whether you're a senior on fixed income or a younger person or a young family even, we would seek those kind of funds to manage the costs that you pay day to day, month to month, year to year. Thank you.
Mr. Hines certainly started out with the right answer. This is a very difficult question. I did a little research the other day, though. There are programs out there offered by HUD that will help first-time home buyers with reduced rates and with some incentive to buy. But it is very difficult. We don't control the private sector pricing on housing. We did have a development come to us 6 months ago, which was an apartment complex that was willing to offer, Susan, correct me if I'm wrong, teachers and public safety officials discount rent during the month. But we're very limited on what we can do. Yeah, it was a very limited number. They had, like 6 or 8 units within there that they were willing to reduce rent on. But we cannot take public funds and actually give them to the private individuals to make that make that happen. There is there are some cities out there that are working with their police and fire to incentivize them to pay if they will live in the city limits. And that's one thing I think we should consider here, because we're having a very difficult time hiring policemen and firemen. But whatever we can do, I'm certainly willing to look at and try. Thank you.
I just also want to add to some of the things that Corky just said, that the council has approved housing for seniors 55 and above, or we've a couple of developments that, and it's going to be like based on a sliding scale. Those are being built currently. I think there's a building, maybe a couple of buildings across from where Sparkle's skating rink is. That's going to be for seniors, and then there's another development down on the East-West connector that's also for seniors. So we have been working on that.
So we have one more question from the audience and one more question from the moderator, and we'll wrap up. So for each of the candidates, what is the first initiative that you would take in office when you become elected? Start with you.
The first initiative,
First initiative.
you know what I'd like to see us also do is do a storm management analysis of our stormwater and see if there's things that we can do to improve that. Now, I will say, if I get elected, I'm one council member, and there's 7 council members and a mayor, so it's not really all up to me, but I think that's important.
Thank you.
Max Bacon used to have a hat that said, "I'm just the mayor." And I'm just one city councilman. But if I could make one initiative, it would be for us to have a retreat to discuss the issues that are at hand. Because in the 4 years that our current mayor's been there, we have not had one. And we haven't had an opportunity to really lay out and talk about, as Mr. Hines has said, or some part of a master plan. It's all just kind of come piecemeal here and piecemeal there, and that's not what I do in my business. I develop projects for cities and counties based on a plan, and for some reason I don't think that's what we're doing.
I absolutely love the idea of a retreat for the city leadership, and I think one of the inputs into that retreat is to have a retreat for the citizens. I would love to invite all of Smyrna to come in and submit what their concerns and needs are. And I can tell you, in walking and talking to many of you all this last 45 days, I've heard about the sewers, I've heard about the flooding, I've heard about the sidewalks, I've heard about public safety, I've heard about the arts, I've heard about access for those with disabilities. Lots of different issues that we could tackle. I'd really love to get the community's take on what are the most important things. We can't boil the ocean, but we can focus on the top 3, the top 5 issues, and take that as input into the retreat. Thank you.
Thank you. So we're gonna have one last question from myself, and it's a fun question, and then we will wrap up with the candidates basically summing up their candidacy, given 1 minute, and then we'll go from there. So here's the fun question. If you could have any superpower, what would it be and why? We'll start with you, Mr. Hines. Any superpower?
That's an interesting question. We could go a lot of different ways with that. I think, as I think about the mayor's role, the one superpower I would love to have is in any interaction, everyone would be forced to be truthful. Forced to be truthful. Whether that's in conversation or written communications, I would force you to tell the truth.
All right. Now, Mr. Corky Welch.
Wow. I told you a while ago I was a money man, so I want a superpower for a money tree in the back.
I think we all want one of those money trees. Now, Miss Susan Wilkinson.
Well, I was actually sitting here thinking about the money thing too. I didn't think of money tree, but only because we have so many things that people want in our community that I'd like to be able to see us do these things, but also the other part of me also is concerned about the fiscal responsibility. But anyway, so yes, money, but I also like that one about the truth. That's awesome too. That's right.
That's that Wonder Woman lasso, that truth serum there. All right, thank you. So now we will have a wrap up. Each candidate with 1 minute to wrap up, and then we will close our evening. We'll start with Mr. Ken Hines.
Again, thank you all for coming out this evening. I'm just excited to see so many people who genuinely care about the city and about the leadership that you're about to elect in a few weeks. I just want to reinforce the reason I'm running. I feel like we're missing some key elements around transparency and around fiscal responsibility, around being a servant leader. And that means that I never forget I serve at the pleasure of you. It's not the other way around. And so I want to return some of those aspects so that we have greater trust in our city government, and that when you come to any of us, you can be assured that, number one, we're going to listen, we're going to take your input seriously, and we're going to try to do what's in the best interest of the city, not a personal agenda that any of us would want to bring. And so I just want to reinforce that that's kind of the contrast that I'm presenting to you as you think about who you will vote for your next mayor. Again, you can stay with the status quo, we know where that's going, or we can vote for a change, and a change you can be proud of. So I hope I will be able to earn your vote. If you haven't already voted, early voting has started. And I look for the opportunity to talk with more of you, earn your votes come November 7th. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'm going to be very short in closing. The reason I'm looking to be reelected for the next 4 years is simply to be a voice and to ask questions that need to be asked for the individuals in the city of Smyrna. For 42 years, I've helped other North Georgia communities, or actually communities throughout the state. For 12 years, I've served on this council. I'd like to continue to offer that experience and knowledge for 4 more years. I'm not really big on making campaign promises, because you need to vote on each issue simply based on the merit of that issue. There's nothing that I can promise you here tonight that might not change. But I promise you this, when I leave the office either 2 months from now, or 4 months from now, or 4 years from now, I'll have served to the best of my ability, and I will leave that office having done so with honesty and integrity. And just ask for your vote on November the 7th. Thank you.
Thank y'all. I want to thank y'all for coming again and spending your time to come out and ask us questions and everything. It's really fun to listen and see y'all. Anyway, and I also want to say I enjoy being a public servant. I'm proud to be a public servant for my constituent. I also want to say that my voting record demonstrates courage and commitment to the citizens in my community. And I'm a strong voice for the citizens of Ward 5. And I hope you'll vote for me on November 7th or before.
Thank you. First of all, let's give a round of applause to our 3 candidates. Thank you. I also want to thank the Ms. Monica Brown and the staff of the Cobb County Democracy Center. Our other sponsors tonight was the Omicron Mu Lambda chapter of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. Let's give them a round of applause. The Rho Xi Zeta chapter of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated. The Rho Zeta Omega chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. I want to thank Mr. Devin Lucas as our IT support person today. Tim Dees. Yeah, Tim Dees on film. Oh, Tim Dees on film. Thank you, sir. Okay. And all of you know that early voting has started, so let's please continue to go out and exercise our ability to vote. But most importantly, I want to thank all of you citizens of Smyrna for coming out this evening, taking your time out on a Wednesday evening, come out and listen to our candidates. This lets us know that you are engaged and you are ready to continue the process of voting. So thank you all for coming out this evening.
I'd like to thank Ms. Nichelle Davis, who represents Smyrna as Cobb County School Board member. And Ms. Keisha Jeffcoat, who is representing District 3 in Mableton, Georgia, the new city of Mableton. Also, are there any other elected officials? Just making sure. There was something that you all said, and I promise you I don't do a lot of talking. The Cobb Citizen Consensus, I've been listening to you all, and I've been listening for a year. And we put this survey together in coordination with, for which it stands, with the Cobb County Democracy Center, and we are really serious about collecting this. My real job is I'm a researcher, so but I love this piece. And we really want to hear from you, so we have it disaggregated by zip codes, so that you'll get those responses. And we're excited, so we'll take this in, like we said, we bring the policy to the people, so please let your voice be heard so that we can go back and talk to our delegation, our school board members about what we're seeing as the people of Cobb through this survey. Also, one more thing, there are some, and I hope y'all don't mind if I email y'all, because y'all gave me your email address. So we do have a lot of forms. We try to keep things going year-round to increase civic literacy. At the Cobb County Democracy Center, we are committed to education and filling in those gaps.
What's
So
the mission of the Democracy Center? Can you tell us the mission? Can you
Mission
tell us
of
the
the
overall
mission.
mission?
Oh, the
For
mission.
the people not
The
familiar.
purpose of the Cobb County Democracy Center is to increase civic literacy and educate on all things policy so that we connect policy to the people. That's what we do, and we need your help. So as we have a huge municipal election coming up, I keep up with numbers. Right now, the last time Smyrna voted, it was 9%. 9% turnout. That's not good. So we have a few tools that you can use if you don't mind making phone calls or knocking on the door, or if you just want some things to hand out to your neighbor. It's going to take everybody in this space to each one reach one. So please, let's work together as a group. We're not endorsing candidates. We're just encouraging our people to get out the vote. And we have, remember, one reminder, March 12th, presidential primary, and then we vote again in May. Okay, so I just want to make this for the other primary. So please, 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 please. I know we're carrying the United States on our back, Georgians, and we're proud of it.
I just want to say, to let everybody know that we did invite every single mayoral candidate, every single city council candidate to this forum.
Yes.
And we started September 22nd.
We started on September 22nd. We invited each and every one of them, and these are the 3 that showed up tonight. So let's give them one more round of applause.
And let's take a picture. And give yourselves a round of applause.
Thank you guys for coming out this evening. Please be safe getting home. Thank you.
Yes.
Good job.